My name is Jenna Lloyd. I'm 30 years old, the older daughter, the one everyone says has it all together. I manage budgets at a nonprofit, grants, invoices, and endless spreadsheets that behave far better than people do. My boyfriend Evan jokes that if there were ever a fire, I'd probably grab my laptop before the photo albums. He's not wrong. Numbers stay where you put them. People, especially family, never do. I live in a modest two-bedroom condo I bought 3 years ago. The dishwasher knocks like a nervous guest. There's a plant in the kitchen that survives out of pure pity, and in a week I'll be 8 months pregnant. My son, Isaiah, already kicks like he knows his mother is overdue for a boundary she's too polite to set. Mom, Ruth Lloyd, can turn a Tuesday into a celebration and guilt into a sermon. Her favorite phrase is, "Family is everything." Her second favorite, "We'll figure it out." Translation, Jenna will figure it out. The baby shower was her production, of course. She sent invitations without asking me, filled her living room with pink and gold balloons, and ordered a cake shaped like a cloud. There was a onesie decorating station, soft music, and champagne for everyone but me. Cousins I hadn't seen in years appeared with smiles that felt like performance art. I smiled back because that's what I do. Smile, organize, survive. Before we cut the cake, Mom stood at the front of the room, holding a microphone. She always finds one. She tapped it twice, then said, "Before we wrap up, I have a special surprise." My younger sister Bella, 26, gasped like she already knew. She's always known. Bella is stunning, magnetic, the kind of person the world refunds for its mistakes. Mom raised a glossy folder above her head. "I'm sending Bella and her fiancé on a fully paid Europe honeymoon," she announced, her voice beaming. $32,000. Rome, Paris, Santorini, because their love story deserves the world. Applause broke out. People clapped, whistled, and cheered. Bella squealed and hugged Mom like they were on a game show finale. I stood there holding the diaper cake someone made me, my smile locked in place. My baby kicked once, sharp, like he felt it too. Mom turned toward me, her tone dropping from celebration to business. "Oh, and Jenna, don't forget the mortgage is due Friday. 3,200. The room tilted slightly. She meant her mortgage, the one I'd been paying through autopay for nearly 3 years. The one I set up just until she got back on her feet. Bella looked at me over Mom's shoulder, grinning. "We'll send you photos from Paris," she said like it was a kindness. Aunt Nora laughed. "Older sisters are such blessings, so reliable." I nodded because that's what reliability looks like. Quiet obedience dressed as grace. Inside, something small and wordless cracked. Later, after everyone left, after the laughter dissolved and the confetti clung to the carpet, I washed baking sheets in Mom's sink because my hands needed something logical to do. She came up behind me, still glowing from the applause. "You're quiet tonight," she said. "I'm fine," I replied. "You worry too much," she sighed. "One day, when Isaiah's grown, you'll understand. Family sacrifices are how love survives." I nodded, but a thought flickered, fragile and dangerous. Not like this. At 9 p.m., I loaded my car with diaper gifts and leftover cake. At 10, I texted, "Home safe?" Mom sent back a heart emoji and a calendar icon, her polite way of saying, "Don't forget Friday." That night, the dishwasher sounded louder than usual. Knock, knock, knock. It didn't sound like cleaning. It sounded like a question. "Are you awake yet?" Evan was asleep beside me, one arm draped over my stomach. He murmured, "You okay?" "I'm fine," I whispered. It came out too fast. The practiced lie of someone who's been fine for everyone but herself. At 1:12 a.m., I got up, opened my laptop. 3 tabs. Bank, email, a blank document titled 90 days. I stared at the mortgage autopay. $3,200 scheduled to leave my account that Friday. Every month, it left without complaint, like loyalty on direct deposit. Isaiah shifted inside me. I pressed my hand against the curve of my belly and whispered, "We're not doing this anymore." Then, slowly, I clicked cancel autopay. The confirmation chime was faint, just a small sound, but it felt seismic, like unlocking a door that had rusted shut. I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, watching headlights move across the ceiling. Every passing car felt like a decision I hadn't made yet. At 2:43 a.m., a text buzzed. "Bella. Hey, can you Venmo me $600 for our photographer deposit?" Mom's tapped. "I'll pay you back Friday." Friday. The same Friday Mom reminded me about in front of everyone. I set the phone face down and let the glow fade. 5 minutes later, another message. Mom, I hope you didn't take that honeymoon thing the wrong way. We want you to have magic too. Did you see the diaper cake? Oh, and Mortgage Friday. I stared at the screen until it blurred. Then I whispered to no one. Magic isn't what I need. I opened the blank document again and started typing. Subject, boundaries plus plan. Next 90 days. Body, effective immediately. I will no longer be paying your mortgage or any other bills. I love you, but I need to focus on my own family now. If you need budgeting help, I can meet twice a month for an hour on Thursdays at 6. Emergencies only. Call me. Otherwise, email. This isn't anger, it's self-respect. I didn't send it yet. I just watched the words settle on the screen, breathing with them until they stopped shaking. By 4 a.m., the apartment was still. The dishwasher had finished its cycle. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the background character in my own story. I closed the laptop and said softly, family is everything, but everything shouldn't mean me. The first light of morning crept through the blinds, pale and forgiving. I sat there, hands resting on my stomach, feeling the small heartbeat beneath my palm. I didn't know it yet, but that night, the night of the baby shower, wasn't the start of a family war. It was the quiet beginning of my freedom. People always say money can't buy love. In my family, it was love. The way Mom told it, generosity was our family tradition, except it only ever went one way. I didn't realize it at 12. Back then, I wanted a used bike I saw at a neighbor's garage sale. Mom smiled, patted my head, and said, if you pay half, you'll take care of it. So I babysat, rolled coins, counted dollars in a plastic box, and learned that earning meant deserving. A few months later, Bella wanted a phone. Same age, same house, same mother. Mom said girls need to stay safe and bought her the newest model for both of them. But somehow, my name never made it on the plan, even though my debit card was used for setup. That was the rhythm of our house. My effort turned into lessons. Bella's needs turned into emergencies, and emergencies always found their way to my wallet. By 16, I was working weekends at a bakery, icing cupcakes, burning my wrists, coming home with flour in my hair. Bella worked at the mall for a month and quit because standing was bad for her arches. Mom just laughed and said, she's sensitive. When I brought home an A, Mom nodded and said, of course you did. When Bella brought home a C in a subject that glittered, literally, an art elective, Mom framed it and said, grades don't measure heart. The message was quiet but clear. If Bella needed it, it was love. If I needed it, it was a test. When Dad left, the soundtrack of our lives became overdue bills and hold music. Mom hated calling banks, so at 19, I started doing it. I learned how to sound calm while begging for late fee waivers. I learned how to say hardship without crying. That's when I became the fixer, the buffer, the unofficial family treasurer. Mom always promised it was just until we get ahead. We never did. At 24, I landed my first real job at the nonprofit, the kind of job that paid just enough to feel proud, but not enough to fix everything. Still, I made a spreadsheet labeled Future. It had categories like emergency, savings, and Mom's mortgage, temporary. Mom cried when I offered to help her. Sweetheart, you're such a blessing. It's just for a few months, she said. That was 5 years ago. Every month, $3,200 left my account automatically, and she'd text me a heart emoji or sometimes, you're my rock. I screenshotted none of it. I deleted every trace of my generosity, like evidence I didn't want to exist. Because if you keep a ledger of love, you start realizing who's bankrupt. Evan noticed it first. We'd been together almost 3 years by then. He's patient, quiet in a way that feels safe, but he also sees everything. He'd glance at my budget spreadsheets and ask carefully, are these your bills or your mom's? I'd shrug. Ours. It's all family. He sighed one night, pouring himself tea. Jenna, families are supposed to help, not drain. I know, I said, though I didn't. It's not about the money, he added. It's about how they make you feel like an obligation. He was right. But at that time, I still believed guilt was proof of love. I tried to justify it by saying, at least she's not asking for herself. But she always was. Mom had a way of turning other people's wants into noble causes. The roof's leaking, that's an emergency. The car needs a tune-up. That's an emergency. Bella's lash certification. That's an investment in her future. We laughed. I paid. I told myself, this is love with receipts. And I believed that until the day I bought my condo, the only major purchase that was truly mine. I remember crying at the closing, the paper still warm from the printer. Evan kissed my forehead and said, "Now you can finally breathe." But a month later, Mom asked if Bella and her fiancé could stay in my second bedroom temporarily while they stabilized. 2 weeks turned into 6 months. I didn't breathe. I held it in. Bella took over my living room like it was a resort. Left green juice bottles on the counter, used my skincare, posted videos from my balcony. City views, baby, without tagging me. I labeled my food. It disappeared. I raised the thermostat. She lowered it. When I asked her to chip in for utilities, she pouted, "Come on, Jenna, you make more than us. Don't be stingy." Mom backed her up, of course. "She's just getting started," she said. "But so am I whispered. No one heard. Evan started staying over less. He said my place felt crowded. He wasn't wrong. Every corner of that condo echoed with someone else's needs. He said something once that stuck with me. "You're trying to build peace on top of chaos, Jenna. It won't hold." But I was too tired to argue. I'd built an entire personality around holding everything together. When Bella got engaged, it was like a royal event. Mom called it the Lloyd family wedding. There were spreadsheets, binders, and meetings like we were running a business. Except I was the accountant and the bank. I tried to set a boundary. "My gift is $2,500. That's what I can afford." Mom blinked like I'd cursed. "Darling, that doesn't even cover photography." Bella laughed. "Think bigger, Jenna." "I said what I can afford," I repeated, my voice trembling but steady. Mom pressed her hand to her heart. "You know, our mortgage has been brutal this year. Be a team player." There it was, the guilt grenade disguised as love. "Why am I paying your mortgage, Mom?" I asked softly. Her smile faltered. "Because I raised you. Because family is everything." I touched my stomach. My baby is everything now. Bella rolled her eyes. "Don't make this about you." That night, I sat in my car outside my condo, engine off, headlights reflecting on the street sign. I thought about every dollar I'd sent, every bill I'd paid, every night I'd stayed quiet just to keep the peace. Peace had a price tag, and I was the only one paying it. For the first time, I asked myself a question I'd avoided for years. If I stopped, who would they become? The answer scared me, not because of what it said about them, but because of what it said about me. I wasn't ready to stop being the fixer, not yet. But something in me was shifting, and when it finally snapped, it wouldn't be small. Buying that condo was supposed to be my freedom, my chance to breathe without owing anyone. For the first few weeks, I'd stand by the window at night, holding tea, watching the city lights shimmer like promises I could finally believe in. Then Mom called. "Sweetheart," she began, her voice trembling just enough to sound cinematic. "Bella and Lucas are going through a rough patch. Could they stay in your second bedroom for a few weeks? Just until they stabilize?" Of course, I said yes, because saying no to Mom always felt like choosing violence. "Only a few weeks," I repeated. She promised. She always promised. 6 months later, Bella was still there. The second bedroom that once held Isaiah's future crib now held boxes of skincare, a ring light, and a pile of designer shoes I could never afford. The little things started first. Labels on food disappearing. A thermostat war. I'd set it at 74. She'd drop it to 69. My favorite blanket vanished one morning. I found it 2 weeks later in the back seat of her fiancé's car. One afternoon, I came home early from work and found her filming a yoga video in my living room. City view behind her, my furniture rearranged. Caption later, "Manifest your best life, #blessed." No tag for me, of course. I commented, joking, I thought. "That's my living room, by the way." She deleted it. That night, she said, "Why do you always have to make things weird, Jenna?" "And Mom?" She sighed. "Don't be petty. She's promoting her brand." Evan noticed the change before I did. He'd come over, see Bella's mess in the kitchen, and his jaw would tighten. He didn't complain, but his silence was sharp. One night, after Bella borrowed my car and returned it with the gas light blinking, I told him I felt like a stranger in my own home. He looked at me gently. "Jenna, you keep giving away your peace like it's spare change." "I'm just trying to keep the family calm," I said. "And what's it costing you?" he asked. I didn't answer, because deep down I already knew. The wedding planning became a full-time job I never applied for. Mom turned my living room into Lloyd Wedding Headquarters. There were fabric samples, vendor lists, and late-night phone calls that lasted until midnight. One evening, Mom said, "We need to talk about your contribution, darling." I already said $2,500. She smiled like she was explaining math to a child. "Darling, that barely covers the flowers." "Then you need smaller flowers," I said. Bella gasped. "You're seriously going to cheap out on my wedding? This is a once-in-a-lifetime moment." "I'm about to have a baby," I reminded her. "That's a once-in-a-lifetime moment, too." Mom folded her arms. "You've always been so rigid about money. Family is supposed to share." "Share or drain?" I asked quietly. She blinked, offended by the accuracy. "After everything I've done for you?" And there it was, the ancient currency of guilt. I thought about the years of auto payments, about every late-night call that started with, "I hate to ask, but..." I thought about my unborn son and how this cycle, this quiet servitude, couldn't be his inheritance. That night, Evan came over with takeout. He watched me move around the kitchen, too quiet, too polite. "Say it," I told him. He hesitated, then said softly, "You're parenting your family more than your baby." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was too true. "I just want peace," I said. He leaned forward. "Peace built on resentment isn't peace, Jenna. It's debt with good manners." His words sank in like stones. I tried to set small boundaries, gentle ones, the kind that didn't sound like rebellion. I labeled cabinets. I set calendar reminders for Bella's move-out plan. I even wrote an email draft to Mom about separating bills. But every time I almost sent it, something stopped me. A voice that said, "Be kind. Don't make it worse." So instead, I kept paying for things quietly. Water, electricity, groceries, even the wedding planner deposit that somehow landed on my card by mistake. I told myself I was keeping the peace, but really, I was keeping everyone else comfortable at the expense of myself. The night everything started to shift, Bella came home late from a bridal brainstorming night. She and Lucas burst through the door, laughing, dropping bags on the floor. I was on the couch with swollen feet and a laptop full of invoices. She tossed her purse onto my dining table and said, "Oh, Mom said you'll handle the honeymoon payments. She'll reimburse you later." I froze. "Excuse me?" "Relax," she said, pulling off her heels. "It's just easier since your card's already on the house account." "The house account?" "Yeah, Mom's. You're basically co-managing it, right?" Evan, sitting beside me, muttered, "This is unreal." Bella frowned. "You don't need to get defensive. You've always been the responsible one." And for the first time in years, that word didn't sound like a compliment. I got up, heart pounding, and walked to my bedroom. Evan followed. He didn't say anything, just placed a hand on my shoulder. "She's not going to change," he said, "but you can." "I can't just cut them off," I whispered. "Why not?" "Because they're my family." He nodded slowly. "And what are you to them?" The question hit harder than he meant it to. I didn't answer. I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling fan, its blades slicing the air into equal parts guilt and exhaustion. Mom's words echoed in my head. Family is everything. But what if everything meant everyone but me? I thought about Isaiah, how he would soon be here, small and perfect, watching how his mother treated herself. And I decided something quietly. When he arrived, I wanted him to see a woman who chose peace that didn't come with an invoice. I didn't know how to get there yet, but I knew the first step would start with a single word I'd never used in this family before. No. It started on a Thursday night, the quiet kind that used to feel safe. Evan had gone home after dinner, and the apartment was finally silent again. Bella was out, Mom hadn't texted in hours, and for once, I could hear myself think. I sat on the couch, 8 months pregnant, one hand on my stomach, the other holding my laptop. The screen glowed back at me, cold and familiar. My entire life boiled down into tabs and transactions. One tab, mortgage autopay. Another, utility bills. Another, wedding contributions. 3 separate veins draining into the same heart, mine. Isaiah kicked once, soft but firm, as if to say, "Keep going." I opened my banking app and stared at the outgoing transfers. Rent, groceries, my own bills. Then, $3,200. Mom's mortgage. $410, her water and gas. $188. Bella's temporary car insurance. Temporary, the most expensive word in my vocabulary. I hovered over the auto pay toggle. My heart thudded in rhythm with the cursor blinking. Click. Confirm cancellation? I hesitated for 1 second, maybe 2, then I pressed yes. A green check mark appeared, small and quiet, but I swear I could feel the weight leave my shoulders. For years, I'd been paying for their stability, like it was a membership fee for belonging. Now I was buying back my freedom, one click at a time. The next step came naturally. Tab 2, email. Subject line, boundaries plus plan. Next 90 days. Body. Mom, I love you, but things need to change. Starting now, I won't be paying the mortgage or any other bills for you or Bella. My focus has to be on my baby and my home. If you need help budgeting, I can meet twice a month for 1 hour. Thursdays at 6 o'clock. Emergencies only. Call me. Otherwise, email. This isn't anger. This is clarity. Love, Jenna. I reread it 3 times, deleting extra periods, softening the tone so it wouldn't sound like war, but every sentence still landed with quiet authority. For the first time, I wasn't asking for permission to protect my peace. Then I drafted a second message. Subject, honeymoon and money. Body. Bella, my gift remains $2,500. Please direct any additional requests to your vendors, not me. Do not use my name, address, or cards for your wedding or travel. If you want help building a budget, I can help. 1 hour, twice a month, by email. I wish you joy and accountability in equal measure. Jenna. My fingers trembled as I typed her name, but when I finished, I felt steady. The last thing I did that night was open a document titled, What I Will No Longer Do, What I Am Willing to Do. I typed, no auto pays for other adults, no co-signing, no emergency transfers, no group texts about money. 2 dinners a month. Family only, my treat. Budgeting help, if asked respectfully. Emergency rides, no judgment. This isn't punishment, it's policy. I printed it out. Paper makes things real. At 2 a.m., I called the property manager I'd bookmarked months ago, Irene. Her voicemail picked up. Hi, Irene. My name's Jenna Lloyd. I own a condo with a spare room I'm reclaiming. I'll need a new lease drafted for any future tenants. Also, I may need help with family boundary scripts. Call me after 9. My voice shook, but the relief behind it was unmistakable. When I hung up, I looked around my living room, the same space Bella had filled with her things, her laughter, her chaos. It looked emptier now, but peaceful. The kind of peace that comes after an earthquake, fragile but honest. I started sorting baby gifts on the floor, folded onesies, stacked tiny socks, lined up bottles by size. It wasn't just nesting, it was prayer. Every soft little thing reminded me what I was building, a different kind of family. At 2:47 a.m., a text buzzed. Bella again. Can you Venmo me $600 for the photographer? Mom's tapped. Promise I'll pay you Friday. I didn't answer. I placed the phone face down. At 3:08, Mom. Mom texted. I hope you didn't take that honeymoon thing the wrong way. We just want everyone to be happy. Also, Mortgage Friday. I could almost hear her tone, cheerful, manipulative, oblivious. Like she believed kindness erased debt. I whispered to the ceiling, not this time. At sunrise, Irene called back. Her voice was calm, no nonsense, the kind you trust immediately. Jenna, I got your message. You did the right thing. First, we clean the paper, remove your cards, change account logins, get a P.O. box. Then we script responses so you don't spiral when they guilt trip you. How did you know they'd guilt trip me? She chuckled softly, because that's what families do when you stop financing their comfort. I laughed through a tear. She said, breathe. You're not a villain. You're just ending a subsidy. By noon, I dropped off Mom's spare key at the property office. I wrote returning for boundaries on the envelope. At home, I brewed tea and watched the light shift across the floorboards. No calls, no reminders, no bills. Just quiet. For the first time in years, I wasn't scared of the silence. It sounded like recovery. Later that evening, I emailed both messages. Clicked send. 2 tiny whooshes of sound. Soft, final, irreversible. My hands trembled, but my breathing was even. I looked down at my belly and whispered, this is the world you're coming into, one where love doesn't require sacrifice receipts. Isaiah shifted gently, like he approved. That night, I slept through the entire cycle of the dishwasher. It no longer sounded like knocking. It sounded like applause. The morning after I sent those emails, the silence was suspicious. No phone calls, no texts, no guilt-laced emojis. For a few fleeting hours, I wondered if maybe, just maybe, they'd understood. Then noon came, and the storm followed. First, a flood of messages from Mom. This is cruel, Jenna. You're punishing us for loving you. You don't understand how hard it is for me. Don't let hormones make you mean. Each message more desperate than the last, swinging from guilt to accusation, from tears to rage. Then Bella joined in. Haha, boundaries. You're obsessed with rules. It's not that serious, Jenna. You'll calm down. I didn't respond. Instead, I made lunch, hummed to the rhythm of the dishwasher, and folded Isaiah's baby clothes. Silence was my reply. 3 days later, Evan and I were at my final prenatal checkup. While the doctor went over details, my phone buzzed on the counter. Mom, again. I ignored it. Then another message popped up. Mortgage late notice. My stomach dropped. I hadn't realized Mom had ignored my warning. I opened the email. Payment overdue by 15 days. Contact account holder immediately. My name was still listed as the secondary contact, the one Mom had refused to remove, just in case. That night she called. Why would you do this to me, Jenna? Her voice cracked. You knew the payment was due. I told you I would not be covering it anymore, I said evenly. You're heartless. What kind of daughter lets her mother lose her home? I'm not letting you lose anything. I'm letting you handle what's yours. Her gasp was sharp enough to slice through the phone. Don't talk to me like I'm a stranger. I wanted to say, then stop treating me like a bank. But I bit my tongue. Instead, I said, Mom, call the lender. They have hardship options. You'll figure it out. Then I hung up. The backlash spread faster than I expected. Aunt Nora texted, I can't believe you're doing this to your mother. She gave you everything. Cousin Valerie posted a vague Facebook status about selfish modern daughters forgetting who raised them. Bella's version of events? That I'd abandoned Mom during a financial emergency while sitting on thousands in savings. I didn't bother defending myself. Let them have their theater. I was done auditioning. Isaiah was born 3 weeks later. Small, warm, perfect. With his father's dimples and my stubborn grip. When the nurse placed him on my chest, the world fell into place. Every sound softened. Every fear untangled. For 3 days, I didn't check my phone. I lived in that tiny hospital room like it was a new planet, one where no one demanded anything from me. On the 4th morning, while Isaiah slept on my chest, my screen lit up. 41 missed calls, 17 voicemails, emails with subject lines like, urgent, call me now, and you're going too far. Mom's messages came in waves. Panic, blame, manipulation. I thought you set the auto pay. Why would you risk us? The house is in danger. Bella's tone was different, sugar-coated poison. Mom's panicking. Be compassionate, Jenna. You have a baby now. You should understand family more than ever. I stared at my sleeping son, the irony stung. For 30 years, I'd been taught that compassion meant compliance. But holding Isaiah, I realized the truth. Compassion starts with protection. I typed a new email. Subject mortgage, follow up. Mom, I'm not paying your mortgage. Contact your lender. They can help you with a plan. I can offer $500 once if needed. Otherwise, email me only. Emergencies, hospital, or police. Call. Love, Jenna. I hesitated, then hit send. My hands didn't shake this time. Minutes later, the replies began. Mom, you've destroyed this family. Aunt Nora, everyone's talking. Are you happy? Bella, if the house goes, that's on you. I breathed in through my nose, out through my mouth, the same way I'd learned during labor. Calm, controlled, alive. That afternoon, the mortgage company called. Hi, Ms. Lloyd. You're listed as a payment contact. Would you like to resolve the past due balance? No, I said. Remove my name. I'm not an owner or payer. A pause. Understood. We'll update our records. When I hung up, I felt something shift. Final and irreversible. Like slamming a door that had stayed open too long. Evan came home early that evening. He found me sitting on the couch, Isaiah asleep in my arms, a quiet smile on my face. You okay? He asked. I think so, I said. Mom's house might go into hardship status. He frowned. Do you want to help? I shook my head. No, not this time. He smiled, kissed my forehead. You didn't destroy them, Jenna. You just stopped being their foundation. The messages didn't stop. If anything, they escalated. Mom sent photos of the mortgage notice with crying emojis. Bella sent voice notes, alternating between fake concern and guilt trips. You've changed. You're cold now. You used to care. And maybe I had changed. Maybe I'd finally realized that caring and enabling aren't synonyms. The next day, Irene called to check in. How are the boundaries holding? She asked. They're shaking, I admitted, but still standing. That's enough, she said. Remember, your silence is also a sentence. It says, I will not participate in my own exhaustion. I smiled through tears. She was right. By the end of the week, the calls slowed. The noise faded. For the first time in years, my phone was quiet, not because I'd been forgotten, but because I'd stopped volunteering for chaos. I watched Isaiah sleep, his tiny chest rising and falling, unaware of the battles I'd fought so he could inherit peace instead of debt. I whispered, "You won't grow up thinking love means sacrifice." And for the first time in my life, I believed it. The following month felt like walking through the ruins of an old life, silent, strange, and clean. The calls slowed to a trickle. The guilt text grew shorter. Even the family gossip machine ran out of fuel. The house didn't foreclose like they all swore it would. The lender set up a hardship plan, lower payments, longer term. It turned out that once Mom stopped crying long enough to fill out the forms, the world didn't collapse. It just got quieter. Aunt Nora tried to re-enter the conversation. She called one morning, tone sugary and curious. "So, have you and your mom made up?" "I don't think there's anything to make up," I said. "We just see life differently now." She sighed, disappointed. "You've changed, Jenna." "I hope so," I replied. She hung up after that. Change unnerves people who benefit from your old version. Mom eventually sent a short email, no subject line, no emojis. "Mortgage handled, we'll manage. Hope Isaiah's doing well." It wasn't an apology, but it was a start. The kind of acknowledgement that meant she finally understood the new terms of engagement, respect or distance. Bella, of course, posted a long, inspirational caption on social media a week later. Something about letting go of toxic people and rising above negativity. Evan read it out loud and smirked. That's creative. She made herself the victim and the hero. I just smiled. It's fine. Let her have her version. Because for the first time, I didn't need to correct anyone's narrative. I had my own, and it was enough. Isaiah was 2 months old when I took him for our first long walk. The sun was soft. The air smelled like morning coffee and new beginnings. I pushed his stroller through the park and thought about all the years I'd spent paying for peace that never came. I realized something then. Peace doesn't need to be purchased. It just needs to be protected. I stopped by a small pond, sat on a bench, and watched the water ripple under the breeze. It reminded me of how my life used to feel. Constantly disturbed, never still. Now, it finally looked like the reflection of someone I recognized. That evening, Evan came home with dinner and a quiet smile. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a photo, me and Isaiah in the park, sunlight catching his little hand on mine. Evan had taken it from a distance. "You look peaceful," he said softly. "I am," I whispered. "For the first time, I am." He nodded. "You built this, not the condo, not the job, this, the calm." I looked down at Isaiah, asleep in his bassinet, and smiled. Maybe it runs in the family now. 2 weeks later, Mom called, the first call in months that didn't come with panic in her voice. "Hi," she said awkwardly. "I wanted to check on the baby." "He's good," I said. "He smiles when I play music." We talked for 7 minutes. Calm. Small talk, careful steps. When she said goodbye, I could hear the pride in her voice, faint but real. Maybe she finally saw me not as her safety net, but as her daughter, someone whole, not useful. The next morning, I opened the drawer where I kept the old printed paper, the one titled, "What I Will No Longer Do, What I Am Willing to Do." I reread it slowly, tracing the lines with my finger. I realized I hadn't broken a single rule, and life hadn't fallen apart. It had finally started. That night, after putting Isaiah to bed, I stood by the window, the same one I'd once stared through while wondering if I'd ever stop feeling responsible for everyone else. The city hummed softly, distant but alive. I thought about Mom's house, still standing, Bella's marriage, still in motion, and me, still here, unbroken. In the end, nothing burned down. I just stopped pouring fuel. I had been their bank, their foundation, their endless safety line. Now I was something different, something stronger. I wasn't their reservoir anymore. I was the dam, the wall that stopped the flood. And behind that wall, my own life was finally filling, steady, clear, and entirely mine. As Isaiah stirred in his crib, I whispered into the quiet, "You'll grow up knowing that love doesn't have to hurt, that giving doesn't mean disappearing, that family isn't about debt, it's about respect." He sighed in his sleep, his tiny fingers curling like punctuation to the promise I'd just made. Outside, the night was calm, no calls, no chaos, just peace, earned, kept, and sacred. I smiled. I wasn't the bank anymore. I was the dam that stopped the flood. And finally, the water was mine to keep.